Do you want to see President Trump bomb Tehran?
No, we don't want to see war. We don't want to see more people killed. But with all these revolutions, there is always some kind of outside help. If there's some kind of outside help, we'll take it. If Trump wants to do something that will help us, we're not going to say no.
Supreme Leader Khamenei is just implacably opposed to any compromise. So they don't have any room for manoeuvre. That's why I say it's the end, longer term, of the Islamic Republic.
Sir Alex Younger, are hopes of this being the end of this regime fading, do you think?
Well, I think three things about this. First of all, as that terrible footage illustrates, there's simply no limit on the brutality that this regime is prepared to mete out to its people. And it has the guns and actually still substantial support. 13 million people voted hardline in the last presidential election. So my hunch, I'm afraid, is that they will, through sheer brutality, suppress this round of violence. But to your question, I think it is fundamentally the end of the Islamic Republic, because they don't have the answer. They cannot meet the needs of the Iranian people.
But are you saying this is different from the protests a couple of years ago and the ones before that and the ones before that?
In a sense that they're weaker, they can't buy off their population in the same way. It's different. But the key similarities of Supreme Leader Khamenei is just implacably opposed to any compromise. So they don't have any room for manoeuvre. That's why I say it's the end, longer term, of the Islamic Republic. They simply don't have a way through this with the Supreme Leader in charge.
Okay.
And then my final point is this is about it isn't really about how the protesters conduct themselves. This is about what's going on inside the regime. And whether we come out with a very hardline government or a reformist government, both of those things are possible.
Baroness Kennedy, you asked an urgent question in the Lords about Iran today. What is your concern tonight?
Well, I mean, I'm concerned as Alex is. I mean, I know this regime very well. We've been, in my human rights work, I've been monitoring Iran for years now. And every time we, of course, hold our breath and we think maybe this time the change will come. I hope it is this time. I hope that this is the seeds. 2,000 people, we think, have been already killed. I mean, mown down. And they're unarmed. I mean, these are unarmed civilian citizens. And so the full horror of this will slowly come to light, and I know that Omid will have things to say about it. But as far as I'm concerned, the people themselves want this to be their base, their change, and they do not want.
Well, some people do.
Yes,
not all.
Yes, not all. But as distinct from what Alex was saying about the last election, where 13 million voted and they're usually rural or the army, because the jobs depend on it. They vote staunchly with the government. But the majority of the citizens are now, and the difference between that election, Alex, and now is how poor people are becoming. I mean, people are really having difficulty putting a meal on the table. And that has shifted. Many of the people now who are taking to the streets are not people who would have done so before. And they're ordinary working class people who are saying, enough is enough, this regime is not serving our needs.
Matthew, are there risks, as Sir Alex Younger was suggesting? Could be a reforming government that comes after it, could be something worse.
There are risks of action, but there are huge risks of inaction. Use the word fundamental. This is a fundamentalist regime, and that word is used a lot, but I think we become almost desensitized to what it means. That regime believe it has absolute truth, and that anybody who demurs from their version of truth is an infidel. And they believe they're doing God's will when they kill people, when they hit women with batons for daring to lift the hijab, when they fund genocidal proxies that wish to maim and kill, and they would kill at larger scale if they had the technological means to do so. To remove that regime would be one of the great things to happen, not just for the Iranian people, but for the wider Middle East and the wider world, because it's part of an autocratic axis alongside China and North Korea and Russia that want to reset the world order in favour of autocracy. Now, some of those are secular absolutisms, but they share that fundamental disdain for liberal values. And yes, there could be a power vacuum. We don't know what would enter it. These things are highly unpredictable, but I genuinely believe that the risk of inaction now is greater than the risk of action.
Omid, when you saw the footage today of the thousands of people supporting Iran's leaders, how did that make you feel?
Well, we know there's a lot of propaganda going on right now. I mean, even we heard today a friend of mine lost a brother and made it very clear that when you go and pick up the body, you're charged $1 billion tumans, which is around £5,000, and you have to sign a piece of paper that the body of the loved one who was being killed was actually a member of the security forces killed by one of the protesters. So there's a huge propaganda push right now. There are even shops, there's been a national strike, and the regime 2 days ago was begging them with bullhorns, please open your shops up, and they didn't. People didn't pay any attention, and then a day later they firebombed 200 shops in a city, the city of Rasht, and they blamed it on protesters. So it's all part of the whole propaganda machine.
When you heard tonight that President Trump has announced that 25% tariffs will be imposed on any nation doing business with Iran, I mean, is that going to make that much difference? Do you want to see President Trump bomb Tehran?
No, we don't want to see war. We don't want to see more people killed. But with all these revolutions, there is always some kind of outside help. Now, the people of Iran have taken to the streets, and every night there's more people than the night before. People are saying it's incredible. We've never seen numbers like this.
But not tonight. Not tonight, apparently.
The videos I've seen, there's loads.
Okay,
In many different cities, and apparently certain cities supposedly have been liberated, which is Mashhad, Tehran, and Shiraz.
111 cities have seen massive demonstrations. I mean, that's enormous.
Yeah, no, it's still going on. But the people of Iran are saying, we've got this. We know what we're doing. If there's some kind of outside help, we'll take it. If Trump wants to do something that will help us, we're not going to say no. But there's always been a peaceful way to do it, and we're quite shocked that it hasn't happened. Now, putting the IRGC on the terrorist list is something that the Iranian people inside have said, we want this. We want this. There's a very simple way to shut this down. If everybody wants that, I'll just say what it is very quickly.
Yeah, go on, and then I'll bring in
which
Alex.
is shut the embassies, freeze the assets, and put the IRGC on the terrorist list. If you do that, the regime is isolated, and then we'll go peacefully within, we would say, maybe not 4 or 5 days, maybe a week or two.
As a former head of MI6, do you think it could be as straightforward as that?
I agree with this idea. There's got to come from the Iranian people.
Yeah.
And whilst I'm attracted to the idea of us doing everything we can to what we agree is a favourable outcome, God forbid we produce a kind of rally around the flag effect or an impression of foreign interference. That doesn't ever play well.
But I think this is very important. That's very important because there is a legitimate fear that Iran, there'll be a power vacuum and go the same way as Syria or Afghanistan. Okay. Now, when that's happened historically, who's been responsible for that? Usually America.
Yeah.
That's what's happened. So the people of Iran saying, we have agency. We're intelligent. We've seen history. We can deal with this. Leave us alone. But if you want to help us, there are legitimate and very peaceful ways you can help us.
Okay.
If I may, I mean, one difference with Afghanistan, I mean, an area I know quite well, my father's ancestors and mine by implication come from the great Persian civilization. I mean, with Afghanistan, this wasn't really a nation state. It's divided into different ethnicities and clans that have been fighting with each other, you know, the Tajiks and the Pashtuns. That was never going to be a coherent nation without a totalitarian centre in the Taliban. I just think we didn't understand the nation that we were invading. But Iran has got a deep civilizational history. Before the Shah came in, its culture and its art and its education. My sense is that there is a potential unifying regime that could be more pluralistic. I mean, there is an historical precedent here. So I do think it is a fundamentally different case to Afghanistan.
Go ahead, sorry.
We do lack a person. That is why I think we're all going to the same place. You know, it is the end of the Islamic Republic, but I don't see who the rallying figure is at the moment. I think they will
Alex, I'm amazed you say that. I'm absolutely shocked and outraged. Are you not following what's going on? It's so clear to me. A lot of people are not watching what's going on. There are massive demonstrations. I've seen them all, and I can see they are chanting for one person. I'm not a fan of anybody. I'm just saying what I observe.
Yep.
It's Reza Pahlavi, who is the son of the former Shah.
Yep.
Now, whether a monarchy comes back, he seems to be someone who is saying, I don't want power. It's my responsibility to go back and facilitate the transition towards a secular democratic elections and have a government. And if people want a monarchy, it'll be a constitutional monarchy, which will be in tandem, like Britain, with a government. Now, Whatever you think of him, he's a unifying figure. He represents national unity to bring this regime down. That's why they're calling for his name.
I agree with you. It is very interesting that he has got involved. I think that in contrast to previous interventions, he has been more skillful. He's signposted that this is going towards a democracy and a constitutional assembly, etc. He's also a very divisive figure in Iran. And I think...
Not at the moment.
I think he demonstrates...
I'm not speaking as a fan. This is what I'm observing.
Sure.
You can't say it's divided. Right now, they are totally unified. Sorry, carry on.
I think that he's indicative of what I'm saying. We need someone to rally around.
Absolutely.
It's remarkable that the Shah is making a comeback, but whether this represents the end game, I think we're in a different place.
What do we think the most effective... I mean, Omid has talked about closing embassies, etc., etc. What do you think the most effective thing the US could do now to help, if President Trump is going to follow through on this promise to aid the anti-government demonstrators?
Well, I think it's very interesting, this idea that a number of steps are taken, as you've just described. I mean, I've been calling for some years for us to do something about the Revolutionary Guard, because they really are such a pernicious... the violence that they mete out on civilians is really, really horrifying.
When you say put them on a banned list, I mean...
But there's something about isolating. I think that there's a whole sense in which people will start running for cover. I mean, the Revolutionary Guard, let me tell you, they come here to Britain, and unfortunately we don't have adequate mechanisms under universal jurisdiction. They come here and send their children to fancy schools, send their children to British universities. And I remember when I was heading up a college at Oxford, there was a bit of a scandal over the son of one of the leading figures his son having been, found a place at a particular college. And I just think that these things are going on under the radar. If people know that they can't do those things, that they are actually going to be barred, then you'll start seeing people starting thinking about where would life be better, and they might start making arrangements to move to other places.
Well, I hate to say it, I'm a great patriot, but I don't think what we do has any significance or relevance at all beyond symbolism. I would designate them a terrorist organisation. I don't think it'll make a material difference to what actually happens in Iran. And I think we have to accept that we are no longer a major player in world affairs. We're regarded as a fading power, and I wish we can do something about that.
Do you accept that, Sir Alex, as a former...
I want to talk about America, actually.
Oh, OK, well, we'll just finish your point, Matthew Syed, and then I will go back to...
Where was I, Alex? What was I saying?
We're not a major power.
Okay.
The UK is not a major
by the
power.
way, I say that as a patriot. I want to recover our stuff. I think we can do it. I'm an optimist. However, the only country that can make a material difference there is the United States. I have great reservations about the Trump presidency and its foreign policy. But I do think, given the assets they have, what they did in Iran with the bunker buster bombs to, as Trump puts it, obliterate their nuclear capacity, to go and get Maduro without the loss of life. If I could see, if one understanding
some people were killed.
By the way, I'm not saying it's a good thing, but it means that there was no loss of life for the Americans. There was great loss of life. Forgive me.
Yeah, there wasn't loss of life for the Americans.
But I do think that if they could do it, and I'm sure they have the means to do it.
What could the US do that would be effective?
That was really clear. This is about the economy, all right? There's not enough to eat in Iran. The reason for that is because of the sanctions, and the sanctions are in place because of Iran's nihilist total resistance policy conducted by Khamenei. Donald Trump has got to go and say, we want to do a big, beautiful deal. Ditch the nukes, ditch the proxies, ditch the ballistic missiles. We lift sanctions. And that puts Khamenei in an impossible position. That is a practical thing that will lead to progress rather than...
Would that work?
I totally disagree. I think at the end, no, sorry. I like you, that's why I'm disagreeing.
These two
I totally disagree, because it's been shown. A country is given sanctions. First of all, it's never the government, it's the people who suffer. But whenever you give sanctions, you're expecting some kind of behavioural change. We haven't seen any behavioural change from this regime for 46 years. It would be like being attacked by a bunch of zombies and then politely asking them to consider a vegan diet. That's what we're talking about right now. So no, there has to be strength.
Would that be behavioural change?
I think, look, at the end of the day, I think Khamenei, from what we're hearing, is in a bunker right now. That's what we're hearing. We're not so sure. We're hearing he's a bunker, and people they're frightened by the sheer numbers of people. And I don't know where you're getting "not tonight." That's not true. I have to say I'm a little bit disturbed as well that you started this whole show with the regime's perspective, when actually what we're seeing is a huge movement and unprecedented courage of the people of Iran. Now, one thing I want to say, either you support it or people keep their mouths shut because people are saying this is Israeli-led, it's American-led. No, this is what's leading to people being killed on the streets. So we either support them or we keep quiet.
Thank you very much, Omid. Thank you for being with us. Thank you.
Thank you.